Welcome. This is the Drupal usability meeting for September 15th, 2023. I'm Benji Fisher, sharing my screen and moderating. And also present are Aaron McHale, Afar Shal, Ralph Kohler, and Thomas Howell. I'd like to start by taking just a quick look at two issues that were recently fixed. One is 463106. That's a 6-digit issue number, so it's kind of old, which is to improve the search settings help text. And I don't want to spend too much time looking at it, but if you have the search module enabled, there are some settings, and we just simplified some of this help text. I think this is about half as long as it used to be, and maybe this one. And we removed some references to cron because it's not necessarily handled by cron. Oh, by the way, this, as usual, is a Drupal site I've set up. I'll give you the link in the Zoom chat. It's just a fresh install of the latest Drupal with the Umami demo profile. Admin are the credentials. So that's one issue that was fixed like within the last day or so. And the other one is something, and we did discuss that at a usability meeting a few weeks ago, maybe a couple months ago. Second one is make it easier to add a child menu item. This is something that I added quite recently. It's issue 3379293. I guess I just added it in August, so it's a little over a month old and easy to demonstrate if you just go to structure and menus. And of course, the longest one is the admin menu. Now, every single link here has a drop button, and one of the options is add child. And let's see, this is the block layout. If I choose that link, test, link, node, add. Parent link is pre-selected as block layout. Previously, you would either have to navigate this potentially very long select list or else move the link after creating it. And here I've created my test link as a child of block layout.
This is so cool.
Such a simple change, right? Like how have we not done this years ago? The other option after creating it, normally it's created at the bottom of the menu. The other option would have been to click and drag, which gets really hard when you have to scroll. So those are our two recent wins. I think both of them in the last day.
That's great.
And let's move on to something new. I'll stop sharing. And Thomas, would you like to show us? I think you said you have a spreadsheet you've set up to discuss Drupalisms.
That is correct. I was trying to quick set up my screen so I could share. Let me first share this. I can't tell if it's going to move or not. This is issue 3381734. Locate Drupalisms that might create confusion among users. This was in response to a card sorting exercise related to the admin menu, but it is slightly like in the Venn diagram of sets. This can be bigger than just admin, but the main focus is trying to make certain that we talk about things that would show up in the admin menu or in sorting exercises related to that, so that we can make informed decisions about when users need more information or education when they're doing that kind of exercise. So it's, I guess it's trying to narrow the scope a bit conversationally. And what I did is I went through a number of the updates. I haven't done the latest one yet, but I think I got down to number 8. Can people see the spreadsheet that I'm sharing right now? Or
Yes.
Yeah.
yes. Okay. So basically, just put together a spreadsheet that has the issue, a link to the issue, and I tried to grab out of comments what was there. I may have interpreted things in a way that isn't ideal, but I'm trying to gather as much of the information as possible so that we can rapidly identify what is in the context of the admin menu, whereas something that may conceptually impact something in Drupal. The goal of this conversation is to identify these things. It is not necessarily to come up with any recommendations for how it should change. When people mention alternatives, I am listing them because it's a very simple thing to add to our information gathering. But the purpose of this is to identify and perhaps define Drupalisms so that we can basically just have that intelligent conversation and make certain that we're enabling users when they're trying to make decisions for the future. So does this make sense, what I've put together here, how it is? I guess in theory, I could add an issue comment number if something was coming from particular comments, but I feel like I might be getting already into the area of information overload. I wanted to keep this simple enough that we can use it, but there's enough repetition even in the 9 comments that we have thus far and in conversation that I feel like a lot of people are going to say, and there may be disagreement. Like some people said taxonomy is an issue. Some people think taxonomy is perfectly okay. So just trying to figure out what is commonly understood versus what is understood within a certain subset of the community because of maybe they have a STEM background or something of that nature. So this is intended just to identify things that we think are Drupalisms. And I will stop talking now.
Yeah, I think that's good, and I think you're right that we shouldn't be adding any more columns. We just want to encourage people to basically put things in column 1 or column A, right?
Yeah, the goal is to get as many A as are accurate. And I don't yet know how we're going to, like, let me see, you'll see Drupalism, yes, and maybe, because there were some things where I wasn't really sure, is this a Drupalism or is this just an opinion? And I guess it's all opinion, but is there a consensus opinion that calls it a Drupalism versus is this one single person's pet peeve because Thomas doesn't like taxonomy, whatever. And actually, I love taxonomy. That's why I'm using it as an example. So I guess for Aaron and Emma and anyone else going to DrupalCon Europe, I would probably want to give them editing access to this. I definitely don't want to give the world editing access to this document. So I don't know if there's any other recommendations about how we should link this in. Should we not link this in the issue? Should we link this in the issue? How should it be maintained?
Aaron gives a thumbs up to not giving the world edit access. I'm not sure why.
Well, I was originally giving it thumbs up to giving me edit access, but also thumbs up to not giving the world edit access. Yes, I would like edit access to all the things. No, I'll thank you for first of all, thank you for the work on this. It's really great. I know it's it's a time consuming thing, but it just makes it so much easier to bring this together and visualize it. And also I know Ralph, you've done a lot of work leading up to this as well. So to both of you, thank you. I think we definitely this will definitely be useful at DrupalCon because as I said before we went on the recording, I've been very kindly roped into doing something about this at DrupalCon, so I'm going to need to put some time into looking over this and see what we come out of it. But yeah, I think I'll mention this to Emma as well, and well, obviously she's not on the call today, but I'll see her. I'll definitely see her next week. So when we're in the office, and I'll mention that to her. But yeah, again, thanks for doing this. It'll be really useful for sure.
That was a perfect segue into another thing. I know Ralph has done a lot of output from different menus, et cetera, et cetera. I was thinking we might want to add in 1 or 2 tabs, at the very least, whatever the latest research version. So I think it's 11.x. Is that what the latest development version is of Drupal? I'm out of the loop on, because I know 10's released, so I don't know if it's 11 or 12 that people are working on these days.
Yeah, the branch name is 11.x. That's for current development.
So it may make sense from my perspective if we were to add a tab with the admin menu terms, so that we might have it for quick reference for people to point to. So I don't know. Is Ralph on the call today? I didn't see. I'm sharing.
Yes.
I am.
Yeah. Okay. If you happen to have already had any of that output, like the admin menu, like you've done it in your past research, that or any other list of terms that you think people should be looking at and considering, we could add those as tabs so that it's there at Emma and Aaron's and anyone else's fingertips when they meet.
Ralph, go ahead.
I agree. It's a good idea. I have 2 documents. One is basically a comparison between different CMSs that isn't well suited here. But the other document, which I've created recently for the H1 and page title issue, that is basically showing off. 1 second, I quickly search for it. Docs, Google. No. Google Sheet. It's title H1. That might be suitable. I paste the link in the chat.
Let me see if I can get that.
There you see the path, the title, the H1, and the H1 after follow-ups that Laurie added.
Yeah.
And primary task labels, secondary task labels. And that might be suitable as we could merge those 2 and basically use that sheet and copy it over to yours, or the other way around. I don't mind.
Yeah, that would be perfect, because we can even just hide the columns that we don't need people to be thinking about, like by default have them set to be hidden. But no, that would actually be perfect, because that gives even more context for a conversation. Just for everyone's edification who's listening to this, and then for Aaron and Emma, I definitely recommend. This is something that can scope way too big too fast, so we want to keep it narrowly focused on just those admin paths, the admin wording, because our goal is not with this to change any Drupalism. That's not the purpose of this. This is an information gathering, I guess, issue, so that we can make informed decisions. So this could spawn an infinite number of suggested change this, change that, but that's not the purpose of the conversation. It's fact finding if we can. And so having this would make it much more like you can point directly to specific lines or specific parts of the document. So it'd be really great to merge them.
Right, and in the same spirit of gathering information, we shouldn't at this point be arguing over that second column or third column of whether or not it's Drupalism. Yes, no, maybe. The goal at this point is to come up with as many terms as we can that are worth discussing.
Yes, I absolutely agree. I just I don't think, for instance, menu belongs on there. And so that would be like, I would avoid any obvious words that are going to be in every administrative context for a CMS in the world. But I think otherwise, if there's even the smallest chance of something like taking the taxonomy example, if someone really feels that taxonomy is a different term, it's better to add it and then defer the debate as to what makes it above the fold and things that we should consider versus not consider. I think that that makes sense.
So let's just clarify the governance at this point. So I think that Ralph and Thomas, you should both be commenting on the issue and adding some links to the issue description for your spreadsheets. I think the issue description already has a not very helpful Slack link to something where you were discussing, where Ralph was discussing his comparison. So I think both of you should be putting in links, and then if you don't want to give universal access to the list of Drupalisms, then are you offering to monitor the issue, and as people make comments there, you'll be adding to the spreadsheet?
That is the intent, is that at least on a weekly basis, I'll go through any existing comments and add them to the spreadsheet. If it gets out of hand, I may need help, but I'm fine maintaining that view of the comments, and the help I was looking for from Aaron. Thank you, Aaron and Emma. Was just managing it at DrupalCon and doing what I do there. And I want to try and time box this. So I would say that once we are a week or two past DrupalCon, let's just try and then move on to the next stage of this, because I want to be able to present the admin, the team working on the admin menu with whatever findings we have. That's like, so that we can say, hey, here's a starting point, and not leave this open forever, which is not to say we can't change the list, add to the list after whatever deadline, but I should leave in a comment some chosen date, and we say we want to be working on this actively until this date, and then we can talk about long-term maintenance of some source of Drupalisms until every Drupalism in the world is either explained or eliminated.
Okay, and the date is kind of arbitrary. You might as well just say October 31st for simplicity. So mention that in your comment, and mention that you will be adding to the list from comments on the issue.
Okay, then I will do that.
And Aaron and Emma can also mention once you've set up a buff for DrupalCon Lille, that would be a good thing to add to the issue.
Yes, and I think well, I need to get more information from Emma again about what exactly what she's signed us up for. So, but yes, we'll add something to the issue, because I think we can use it as a place to collect these resources and to plan from. So, and I think Christina is involved. I'm not she's been doing some work in this area, so I'm not 100% sure how involved she is, but yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I think she's actually the one who created this issue, so she's certainly involved.
Oh,
Yes.
okay, yeah, great.
And this was in response to the conversations we had when Christina dropped by to talk about the card sorting exercise and the results. So this is in response to that, when I posited the theory that when you're dealing with non-Drupalists, how can they card sort Drupalisms?
Yeah, I think I do remember that coming up. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, ready to move on?
I am. So I'll put in a comment later today or tomorrow. And Aaron, if you and Emma could reach out to me, and actually, Ralph, I'll give you edit access as well. So if the three of you, and I know Emma's not here, just message me with the link or the email address that you want me to add for editing purposes to the document. I'll do that.
Yeah, we'll do. As I said, I'll catch up with Emma next week in the office, and we can touch base on it.
Awesome. Thank you, guys. I'm going to get going now.
Thanks, Thomas.
Thanks, Thomas. Bye.
Take care. Okay, and Ralph, do you want to bring up the issue that Quiet One mentioned, or shall I share my screen again?
You could share your screen, no problem.
Okay. Now we seem to have lost offer as well. Just a second.
And then there were 3.
Okay, and let me just bring back the chat. And
Paste the link to the issue again.
I
Oops,
think
no, it's the wrong one. Sorry.
I think it's this one.
No, it's the right one. Cool.
This is issue
Yeah.
2099099.
Whoa.
Or 2099099. If site is in maintenance, omit instruction to put site in maintenance mode in db update controller.php. So shall I put my test site in maintenance mode? And
Yep, please.
Looks like. So let's say that's under configuration
development.
Development. Okay.
Maintenance mode.
Yes. Put site into maintenance mode.
Yep. Save
And there's this
configuration.
configurable message.
And now add in the path just update.php instead of en/admin and so forth.
Okay.
And
the standard advice, of course, is when you're updating the site is to put it in maintenance mode first. Go ahead.
exactly. And point is the issue you can see in the issue summary. The patch would basically remove point 2. As you can see there, you just have back up your code, back up your database, and install your new files. That's basically the thing that that patch fixes. 1 second, where is it? In comment number 46, Laurie states, I'm not sure I agree. We should be omitting the text about maintenance mode from the list when maintenance mode is enabled. To me, this page looks like a static list that describes the recommended steps for updating Drupal. I would not expect it to change depending on what steps I've taken before. And in comment number 48 is one comment I second. The person states regarding number 20, would not it be better from the usability point of view to have that point checked or highlighted some other way to be clear that the point is already done? I also understand this text as a static guide, so I would not expect some points missing from it. And I think that's a point I would support, to in some sort illustrate that the site is already in maintenance mode. Because for me, from my perspective, sometimes I'm of a quite short working memory, and if I set the site to maintenance mode and then go there, and then if I see it there again, then I've still the uncertainty. Have I set my site to maintenance or have I not? And sometimes I go back, and that way it would be taken care of.
Okay, Aaron, you have something
Hello.
to say?
I'm wondering if we can borrow from the installer the kind of checklist style approach, and I'm sure the update. Does the update system use this? But anyway, you know, in the installer, where if everything is good, you don't actually see this checklist. But when you go to install a site, if there's something, or maybe you do, I actually don't remember. If there's something that is that Drupal has identified that it's like, you know, a warning or is not set up, like your minimum version requirements or all that kind of stuff, or like the settings file is not writable, you get like a kind of checklist screen with different things that need to be all all okay, all green ticks. Maybe that's a pattern we could borrow for something like this, because then we could indicate if warn the user, hey, the site isn't in maintenance mode. Maybe you should do that. But then if the site is in maintenance mode, we could just say, okay, we could just flag that as that's checked, it's done. You don't need to, worry about it. And I'm not necessarily saying we should remove this list that you see here, but maybe that's like an extra step after you click continue, as it in the same way as in the installer process.
Okay. I think a sort of a checklist version of this is hard because that's probably number 2 is probably the only one that the system can determine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I was thinking, like, let's not try and replace what's here. I think there is like I kind of agree that we should keep this list static, but that's why I'm thinking like an additional step that's like that and like basically does the same as the installer. Even if maintenance mode is just a single item, it does also give us, it means we're reusing that existing pattern, which will be familiar to people. And then also gives us the potential to add other things, expand that in the future if there was a situation where that was needed.
Okay. So my opinion, when we first looked at this, I had the same thoughts as Larry and Poker 10. And an additional point is that when you have a numbered list, people will sometimes refer to the points on the list by number. That's one of the reasons for numbering rather than using bullet points. And so if someone says, hey, you need to pay attention to number 3 on the list, if what number 3 refers to depends on whether or not the site is in maintenance mode, that's a potential source of confusion. I'm also just curious, looking at this list, what is this update your file step that they're referring to? It says described in the handbook page linked above. What step is that? Is that out of date? What does it refer to?
Does it, if you go to the bottom, there was altering core and theme files. Yeah, there.
Is it maybe
bold.
like,
but no.
I'm wondering if it's like a hangover from the pre-composer days, because I doubt that list has changed since like Drupal 6.
Yeah. Searching for the word file on the page, I only get this link in the sidebar, upgrading Drupal using a patch file.
That was great. Loved it. I also see it uses directional language, which is a -1 in my opinion. It's not used the
on the
word
page
above.
I'm looking at now, or on the handbook page?
On the page you're looking at now, yeah, it has the word above, which I'm not particularly a fan of.
Yes. Yeah, so I think we all agree that removing the item from the numbered list is a bad idea. I would not mind at all adding something to point 2 indicating that it's been done, either a checkbox or just the word done. But I wouldn't want to remove it.
Yeah, I guess there's like, because I don't know the internals, and I know there's been a lot of conversation about rewriting the installer and the update process is like a more of a sort of single, like a Symfony app or something. I'm pulling from a vague memory here, but if I guess like if it was easy to do, as I said, reusing that pattern from the installer of like a review stage where it tells you checks to see if it's been done. Even if it's one item, I would still encourage exploring that idea because I imagine it's if they're sharing the same code, which I get the sense they might be, it might be a fairly straightforward thing to do, but I wouldn't want to block it on doing that. I would consider it like one of the possible approaches.
So would you put maintenance mode on a separate page? So currently we have 5 steps. Would you put it on a separate page and make it 6 steps? Would you, how would you?
Yeah, I mean, I would like with the installer how it has a step like a review step. Unfortunately, the site is already installed.
1 second, I have probably one here.
Yeah, I'm afraid I can't get to step 4 since I don't currently have any pending updates. Ralph, what did you want to say?
I think I have a site here, but the steps Aaron referred to, unfortunately, are skipped due to DDEV. But if I have a minute, maybe I could quickly fix it. 1 second.
If you one way to trigger it is if you like make the settings.php file not writable, or the site directory not writable. That will that will trigger that page to appear.
SQL right. Yes, and code. Read. Okay, I could quickly choose profile. Yep. I have a site here. We could go through it if you want to.
Yeah.
Okay, should I let you share your screen?
Let me quickly share my screen and share. Are you able to? Oops, don't.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Choose English, standard.
Oh, it went too far. It skipped the verify requirements. I think that's the step.
Oh, it still skipped them.
And this is the installer. You're not looking at the update.
Yeah.
I thought you referred to the installer.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
I just want to be clear, especially for the sake of the recording.
Okay,
that
sorry.
We're now looking at the installer.
Yeah, the step I was thinking of is the verify requirement step. I think the way if you were able to like make this site directory not writable, that would be I think an easy way to trigger that step.
Site directory. Site.
Like if you're able to change the owner of it and make sure like
1 second. The entire site directory?
Yeah, it's just so that because I think it's like I think if you make your user read only, I think that might get us to that screen. Oh no.
Shall I log me out?
It might.
No, that doesn't
It
work.
doesn't let you.
No.
Um.
Hmm. Is there another way?
If you what's another way? Other things I can think of is like if there was a PHP extension not installed that it needed, if the, but again, you're using DDEV, so that's it's hard. It's actually, yeah, it's actually quite hard to it's actually quite hard to trigger this if you're using like DDEV, which is I guess is good normally, but for our point, it's slightly more challenging.
Counterproductive.
Yeah. Maybe I can do it. Am I running here? Okay, this might take a second. Yeah, it's gonna take me a minute because I have to start up Docker.
I also wonder if we're going down a rabbit hole and if there's something more productive we could do for the last 15 minutes of the meeting.
One idea, because with that sort of checklist, I'm still not sure if it would be comprehensible to the user if you have the list of 4, like we have right here, and you have then one point checked in some sort of way or indicated that it's already covered. But would it make sense basically to, no, but then it's still, my idea is somehow indicate, for example, in the upper right corner with some sort of in maintenance mode label that the site is in maintenance mode, and then you have the list of steps left to apply. So you could basically, yeah, leave it out, point to, or make a check mark there and leave the rest up to the user. Because the rest isn't really mandatory. Back up your code or back up your database. Usually, I'm not sure how many people are doing that, except the enterprise context ones.
Yeah, this is sort of funny. I looked at the user guide, and it has screenshots for running the installer, and it shows step 1, choose language, step 2, choose profile, step 4, set up database. So it does not have a screenshot of the verify requirements stage.
That is super unfortunate.
But technically,
Oh, I was almost there, and then I was not.
but in regards of the handbook, the page and the task at hand is Drupal database update. But if you go to the upgrading handbook and just search for the term database, you won't find anything.
And just for the sake of the recording, let me show you what I meant. If you go to documentation, and then under
I got it.
guides, user guide, and then
Oh, there, okay.
installation, running the interactive installer. You get to this page, which has screenshots, but does not have one for step 3. Aaron, you've got it. Do you want to share your screen?
Yeah.
Okay.
Now I'm curious.
Okay. Let me go back one step just to build suspense. Here we go. Okay, yeah, so I'm on the installer, and what I've done is I basically deleted the settings.php file and set that directory to be like not writable. So if I hit continue, it's gonna take me to the verify requirements screen. Which maybe in itself, the fact that it skips that is not ideal. I think it should still show you the screen, but you can see it tells me there's an error found. It's about the settings.php file, but you can see everything else that shows is okay. So this is definitely a pattern that we could reuse to but instead to be like, just flag it as a warning that, hey, your site's not in maintenance mode, you might want to do that, but still let you proceed I don't know if this pattern supports having a warning. I think it might, and it will then still let you proceed. Yeah, this could be one potential way of doing this, because it then also gives you, the scope to check other things potentially in the future.
So if you want to use the same pattern for upgrades, then how many things would we be checking?
Probably just the maintenance mode in this case. So it would just be one thing for now. But that's what I'm saying is it does mean that we're reusing an existing pattern which we know works and allows us to potentially add other checks in the future if need be.
Not sure if that pattern is applicable to the database update. Because there on the installer and the verify requirements, those are effective things you're able to check against and could say there's an error or that is okay. But in regards of the database, only 1 out of 4 is clearly testable. The rest is on a voluntary basis, and the 4th point is even not really clear what it means and refers to. So
yeah, that's why I'm saying like it would just be for the warning. That's why I was also saying like I wouldn't want to remove the first list, because I think it's useful to have that complete list of tasks you should do. But this could be introduced as an additional step in the update process.
But how about the following? On that Drupal database update page, make in line with the pattern you have there, just test a single value, basically put your site in a maintenance node, meaning on the top, check it's okay, your site is in maintenance mode, and underneath those are the 3 points you have you could follow basically, and make sure you have taken care of that, and then continue on your own risk if not. And in case the maintenance node is not set, you clearly see it's not set, and not okay. And therefore you won't even need to proceed with the other 3 points, but exclude basically the maintenance mode from the other 3. So maintenance mode is functionally different than the other 3 points.
Should we switch back because we're talking about the update process?
Yeah.
All right, so you want me to share my screen again? Just look at the issue.
Yes, please.
Yeah, for some reason, my update page is now unthemed.
Oh.
I don't. Anyway, so I think remember this is really optional, and if you think the database updates are going to run quickly, then you can skip this step. It only affects what people are going to see if they happen to visit your site while you're in the middle of updating. For enterprise sites, of course, that's crucial. You want to pay attention to it. For little hobby sites, you might not bother. So I think it's overkill to put in a separate step in the upgrade process just to check this optional requirement, if you'll forgive the contradiction in terms. We might consider adding a warning to the last step before triggering the updates. And we could certainly put a check mark or not next to step 2 on the page we've been discussing. I don't think it's worth doing anything more than that.
Yeah, you could definitely do something in line. Like you said, some kind of something that says this is done or you've done this kind of thing. Maybe in green, but to match the kind of status, confirmation. But I'm hesitant to recommend we use color text. Maybe like a green icon would be fine.
Yeah, a green check mark, for example.
Yeah.
With some alt text for accessibility, done or completed.
Yeah, you did this. Good job. You could put like a warning, like an exclamation icon or something next to it saying, just to flag that if it's not done, that it's a good idea to do.
You do that exclamation mark or the a green label for good. You've set the maintenance mode, let the site into maintenance mode. Then the longer I think about it, the more I think the point 2 shouldn't be in the list of the 4. It's something different functionally. Even though it's a not that important detail, but still having that in the list, and I have an exclamation mark, for example, the site is not set into maintenance mode, then I would wonder why, for example, has backup your code not also the same, or back up your database, or the install your new files in appropriate location. Is that not checked? And not sure if it's that easy. And still as out of the scope for the issue, but the link for updating Drupal guide and also point 4 should also revisit it, I suppose, to make that more clear.
Yeah, this is all pretty out of date. The guide itself, the text on this page could definitely use an overhaul.
Yeah.
So as to whether whether point 2 belongs on this list or not, these are all steps to do before clicking the update button.
Yeah.
So in that sense, it does belong on this list. It is different from the other items on the list in that it is the one thing that the system can check. It can't check whether you've backed up your code or not. And I suppose the next step checks step 4, whether there are any update functions pending. Right, if I go to continue, and maybe I'll get this themed again. No, interesting. There we go. And I guess since I don't have any updates pending, that's why it's going to skip step. So it goes to step 3, review updates, and it tells me nothing is pending. So that's the step where it checks item 4, whether you've done the updates or not. Okay, we're almost at the end of the hour. So just going back to this issue, I think we agree that simply removing it is the wrong thing to do for the scope of this issue. A check mark or simple text saying that it's done would be a reasonable thing to do for this issue. And for some other issue, we could look at overhauling this text because it is kind of out of date.
Yeah.
Okay, so who wants to leave a comment on the issue? Okay, I'll do it.
Okay.
Sorry, yeah, I'm quite busy this week.
Yeah. Well, we all are.
Yeah. Apparently, I have a buff to prepare for.
but you have a few weeks for that.
I do.
And you'll have help preparing for it.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks for joining, and we'll do it again next week.
Okay, thanks.
Okay,
Bye.
thank you.